Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Okay, go ahead.
Were you doing 60-40 deals back then?
Yep. I've been doing 60-40 deals. How old are you?
46.
Oh, fuck. Way before you were born. I mean, almost 50 years. And it's no easier to convince somebody today than it was in 1975. Now, let's just stop a second. Why is that? Because, I mean, has anybody found a loophole in the 60-40 deal yet? You can do a lot of calculations, and you're not. Okay, so why in 1975, when I was doing this, is it no easier today than it was then? Because conventional wisdom is a motherfucker. But look at this. It's in some ways it's harder now to sell than it was then. But I'm persevering, and a lot of the guys up there and a lot of my billionaires, God bless the 60-40 deal. And some of them take it where they only sell 60 or buy 60, and some of them buy 60 with an option on the 40, and you've heard all that. But I mean, it's if you can't get your dick wet doing those, I mean, it's because you don't have a dick. I mean, but everybody's not going to buy off on it. You can't give up just because 3 or 4 people say no. That's where, but a lot of people will think it's, a Ponzi scheme, it's this, that, and the other thing. It's nothing like that. Actually, it's the fairest, straightest deal you can give the seller. He participates on the upside if he stays in. But the best for us is 100% seller finance, and it's all right to overpay 10, 20% because you're spreading it out, and you don't know the real reason they're selling. They're motivated. I don't think I've ever heard the real 100% reason people sell. But that's not, we're not psychiatrists to these people. Whatever reason they think is an adequate reason, then the biggest challenge you're going to have, and I already mentioned this, you want their lawyer there. And they'll say, use your lawyer. I trust you. The only ones that have ever backfired on us is that I always had their lawyer and our lawyers plural, and is when something went wrong. They didn't have a lawyer, and so then he's 87 years old. One of the kids sold the seller finance, 15 years, 87 years old guy. 15 years. He didn't have a lawyer there. They say, I would have filmed it. He didn't film it. Are you sure you understand, old timer? You're 87. It'd be 102, my last payment. Oh, yeah, I got longevity in my family. He's got straw in his ears and coming out wearing his overalls. I'm not worried. That deal ended in tears. Died, 3 months or 13 months later. And the kid, kept trying to explain as they took him off to jail. I want to say it's Louisiana, but I'd be lying. But I'm going to say it's from Louisiana from now on, and in honor of you. So, you just got to keep swinging at the plate. What else? Yes, sir.
Our board should know everything we need to know if we choose them correctly. So
far, you're correct.
Yes. So I only have one question towards that. Since I'm going into the pet grooming industry, how do I know or pick correctly the industry experts?
I'd look at who are serving on boards, and these guys can serve on more than one board. Okay, like Carnation. Let's just take Carnation. Has a board, and Carnation is now owned by somebody else, and they have subsidiary boards. I used to look at the subsidiary boards and find out who was there. Just because they're a subsidiary to Carnation, which had pet food and shit like that. They ultimately got bought by private equity, and I'd go to somebody that's already on a board, and even if they say, well, I've got conflicts. Well, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And most of the time, they'll answer the questions. But before the internet, we had guys, I hired lawyers, law students, to go and do my due diligence. And they were the most organized, the kids that I could find were kids in law school. And they would find out the stuff that you can now just Google fuck about the industry, the trends in the industry. But now most of the big universities, if they have a big veterinary school, they will do studies. And they will do performance about what the industry is going to do, how fast it's going to grow. Who wrote those? Okay? They most likely can be an industry expert.
So it's not like an ex-business owner?
No, you can, but I mean, most ex-business owners have sold to private equity. They may have non-disclosure agreements, not that many people adhere to them. But, you got to get your feet wet and talk to people that are in the trenches. And I mean, there's podcasts about pets, and now, as Dan Locke and Bruce Whipple say, I mean, it's easy peasy to find out information. The information that used to take us days or weeks to acquire, you can do in a matter of hours. Because it's, now everything online isn't necessarily true. Okay. Wikipedia, who doesn't allow anybody to write anything about me, that's why my thing's so short, is, there's a lot of bullshit on Wikipedia. But it's a place to start. Because they have articles that they have down in the footnotes that they use to write the Wikipedia. So if you go to the source, you can get a lot of great information. But I mean, if you spend more than 48 hours researching your industry, you're brain dead. Something's wrong with you. More than 48 hours. Andrea spent 15 minutes, if you remember. Some people don't even spend 15 minutes. Now, I know, I'm changing careers. I got to spend more than 15 minutes, Dan. No, you don't. Because the first choice you make may be wrong. One, you don't like it. Two, the sellers aren't as motivated as you'd like them to be, which is sometimes the case. Maybe like Graham. He tried, this was the fourth time. Most kids give up after 2 or 3. Most kids give up. And I picked oil and gas but I saw guys that weren't the sweat on my balls becoming multimillionaires back in the late 70s. I mean, I shit more brains than they have. And I said, I don't know anything about it, but it's got to be fucking easy. And I was right. First company I went to work for was one of our corporate finance clients, Kennedy Industries. Pat Kennedy, God love him, a drunken Irishman, about 4 or 5 years older than I am. I had his 20-year high school reunion. He's from Wausau, Wisconsin. He was a big football star at the high school. 3 people of a class of 600 or 400 signed up for his 20-year reunion. He paid for all his classmates, no matter where they lived, flew in, bussed in, trained in to come to the reunion. To show everybody how not dissimilar to Andrew Carnegie when he came back on, to show his mother could show. Not dissimilar. And we flew in. I still remember it. There was one guy in a suit other than me. Literally overalls. Literally. I mean, guns in the back window. I don't think there maybe 2 non-pickup trucks. 2. Good old boys. And the humidity was so fucking thick. In those days, I had a Samsonite briefcase. The kind of gorillas used to jump on in the commercials. And when I set it on the floor, you could write my name in the humidity on the side of it. It was so wet. And I had to change suits. And these old boys, I still remember the general manager of the Toyota dealership, which Toyota factory was around there someplace. May have been another car. He had, when you see these guys that have T-shirts, they're so fat, the T-shirts doesn't cover up this part of the belly. And when he just even bent like this, you could see the crack of his ass down to here between. I never forget that. I said, God damn. And And they all lied. They said, we know Patrick was going to make a goddamn lot of money. We knew that some bitch could do it. Which was not true. But getting back to the point, it's not that hard. Okay, what else?
When you find a really good business broker in your industry, then
In what industry?
in the industry,
Any industry.
any industry, right? Particularly in which you are going to acquire the businesses, then how you convince him to bring the more and more deals, other than obviously
Bring the...
more deals, other than paying.
If they think they got a good deal from you, they'll bring more business than you can ever say grace over. If they do a seller finance, it's because they're happy. People don't do seller finance if they're unhappy. If you pay 20, 25% more than the fucking thing's worth, they're happy. And you don't care. Remember, you name the price, I name the terms. I pay twice as much the fucking thing's worth. I don't care. Okay. You got a lot of questions. Weren't you listening all week?
I'm here.
Okay.
Might as well ask, how much did you push on the gas pedal in terms of spending your usable cash flow on these deals? Like, were you really aggressive at?
I personally, my money, not the company's money, spent 100 to 125% of every penny I ever made up until I was 60 years old. I didn't write checks. I haven't written a check since 1981. I haven't been paid a paycheck since 1992. But our personal accounts, I didn't know what an overdraft was. A personal overdraft. But we used them because I was spending more money, than I made. And then because I got paid from deals or capital. I invaded capital all the time, which is a number one rule that you're not supposed to do, but I did it all the time. Because I always made more money. And I got used to that. And when you get used to spending, the $30,000 meal that Simon talked about is not a joke. And it wasn't for a wedding or some shit, 4 or 5 guys. That wasn't a joke. For some of you, that's your entertainment budget for the last 3 years.
My question was, though, how aggressive were you? Because you're buying these things or you're trying to at 2 times debt service coverage ratio. You're producing the cash. How aggressively would you use that excess cash to keep the machine going?
It depended on the deal, depended on a lot of things. But I never looked at that. My financial team told me, we got to ease off a little. We can't make another acquisition. We made 22 acquisitions, which just got broken by Marcus Bauer. 22 acquisitions, and that's pressing the metal. You're humping. 22 was a record until Marcus broke it. That's all. But we had a full team. We had some, hungry motherfuckers. But if you didn't give them meat, they left because their salary was $100,000, which is nothing. But deals, they wanted deals, and they came up with some very creative ways to buy shit, way beyond what I'm teaching you. You can be a billionaire just doing what I taught you, but they came up with some really creative stuff to create, to make one deal into 3 deals. To give us, twice as much cash flow. Yeah.
As a rule of thumb, how much cash should you keep on hand?
Well, in those days I used to keep $5,000 in my pocket all the time. But I'm a big tipper too, which is my tips could be as much as the bill. Because I used to work for tips. I used to park, when I was 14 years old, I parked cars at a place called the Ram's Horn, which is a restaurant that all the LA Rams used to go to. And I got from $0 to $100 for a tip, for driving the car from here to the building over there. The richest ball players gave me nothing. The second string quarterback gave me $50. And so so I always carried a lot of money because I used to give a lot of tips. Plus, Sally doesn't let me carry a credit card. Now, that was before. Now, I have 20 pounds when I'm in London. I have $20 when I'm in, and like they used to do for Albert Einstein, I'm going to use it when he was at Princeton. They used to tape a nickel behind his lapel, because that's what a phone call costs, nickel. And they had a little address thing that says, I am Albert Einstein, I'm lost. So Sally gives me 20 pounds or $20. And she doesn't give me a little card, but she, in case I get lost, because this is a true story. New York City, the finest Chinese restaurant there. I think it was called Thai or something. We go there, and I get a call at the hotel, or Sally gets a call. Mr. Peña, we got his credit cards here. This is back when, 25 years ago, when she still let me. In fact, this was the last time she let me carry credit cards. And Sally says, cards? Yes, from last night's dinner. So she goes down. They've got the credit card that I left there or fell out of my pocket or whatever. And they had the card from 2 years before, the same booth, the card. And I never noticed the fucking card was gone. And so that was kind of the end of my credit card days. So I don't carry credit cards anymore. And you're out with a bunch of Chinese. You're out with a bunch of Arabic people. And if the bill comes to me, I normally get the bill because I'm the oldest at the table. And then I always give it to Sally. And the Chinese don't like that. Arabic-speaking people don't like that. Muslims especially don't like that. Because a man is supposed to, and Sally then pays the bill. Did that answer your question? How much you carry?
I was talking about the corporation.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Corporation. But we always had a multi-million-dollar overdraft or line of credit. So, I mean, we could always spend money. All the corporate executives got credit cards, senior, but they had limits. You know, you couldn't spend more than 10 grand on your American Express a month. But when you're the fastest growing company in the world, I mean, we weren't worried about expenses. We were only worried about revenue. They used to, when you found oil, they called it grease. Most of the exploration guys in the world at that time didn't find enough grease to put on your hair to comb your hair. It was a big joke. We had the founder of the fucking North Sea. And we made a bunch of discoveries. And I mean, we were the only people that came to the Petroleum Club. And when we gave a party, it was $1 million. If you can't have a goddamn $1 million success party, then it ain't worth fucking having, boy. And we did all kind of laugh. But when you're making, and we still paid dividends, and we did all that shit, when you're making so much money, the oil and gas business is incredible. When you're making money, when you have a 500 barrel a day well, like right now, $50, or no, it's $80 a well. 8 times 5 is $40,000 a day. And you got a field of 25 wells. We used to take baths in oil. We bought a Saberliner just because it was the only plane around at that time I could stand up in. Not like a chicken shit one where you got to crawl around like a monkey. You have no idea what it is to make a lot of money. But that's what you aspire to. So I'm the right guy teaching this, as opposed to all the other fuckheads that are teaching that they don't have a pot to piss in, no window to throw it out of. Those cars are paid for. This place is paid for. We have no debt. We have one Bitcoin, in our grandchildren's name. What's Bitcoin today? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me. Any other questions? Okay, YouTube.